Hi, for this segment, it's my pleasure to be at the headquarters for Classic Drummer Magazine with founder of the magazine, Billy Jensen.
Hey, nice to be here, Michael.
Thank you for doing this. And publisher Steve Bryant.
Good to see you, Michael.
How are you guys?
Great.
Let's go back to the beginning. Billy, you founded the magazine. When was that?
That was January of 2001, and I was into collecting vintage drums pretty heavily back then. And I actually just started the magazine out as a newsletter, and it just morphed into a magazine, first called Vintage Drummer, and then in 2005 we did a name change to a Classic Drummer.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been involved, Steve?
I got involved with Billy around 2010. I was a fan of the magazine, and I met Billy, and we knew pretty clearly, as most magazines know, that print is not the future. And so, as an owner of a media company, we were excited about the opportunity of taking Classic Drummer and being involved in its transformation into a multimedia publication, a publication that could be serving our readers for a long time to come, as opposed to the print model that is slowly disappearing for all magazines.
Mm-hmm. We'll touch more on that in a second. The original focus of the magazine was what?
A newsletter for collectors, for drum collectors. But I was friends with, and still am, friends with John Aldridge, who founded Not So Modern Drummer. So I kind of used his magazine as a gauge to turn the newsletter into a collector's drum magazine. But I immediately knew he was covering the bases as far as the gear went. The nuts and bolts of the drum collecting people. And it's like, well, I want to go more towards the area of the artist. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I focused on interviews with basically the drummers of the past, which were vintage drummers, and I didn't like really calling them vintage drummers, mm-hmm. So that's how the name changed. That's how we went into a Classic Drummer.
And then I remember I asked you, Steve, who are the subjects for the magazine? And you said important drummers.
Well, for Classic Drummer, important drummers are drummers who make important music, music that had an impact on the culture. It is not fair that a lot of fine players don't ever get to make music that has an impact. It's also serendipity that some really adequate players have an opportunity to make some very impactful music. And so we're driven by the music. And when someone says, you got to see this drummer, you guys need to talk to him, my first question is, what did he play? What's his music? And then, based on the impact of the music, the importance of the music, it determines the desirability of that artist for our viewers. And we respect all drummers. We wish we could play as well as any of them, and we are envious of their talents and enjoy their talents. But we want to archive and preserve the stories of the drummers who made the important music of our time. And the thing about using music as a guideline is it keeps the magazine evergreen. Dave Grohl was just inducted into the Classic Drummer Hall of Fame. Relatively young guy, but he made very impactful music and plays drums with his hands and his feet, and that's a very important piece. I saw an article in a magazine that was from a very talented young man who took pride in the fact that he had touched with his computer every drum beat in the song. Well, that's not classic drumming. Right. It's important drumming, it's pop drumming, it's drumming that matters to a certain audience. We lean toward the folks who play the instrument, play it in a way that is less involved with technology and more involved with heart.
Well, I like the fact that you're looking at an important drummer as someone who has made important music, instead of just focusing on the virtuoso aspect of the star drummers and thankfully they're there. But there's another world of wonderful drummers out there that are benefiting from the exposure. Now you also talked about print going away. What are your options now? You've redesigned that delivery model, haven't you?
Yeah, we all love print. There's an aesthetic of print that's very pleasing. We all love album covers. Nothing better than holding up a 12-inch album cover. So nice to have a nice print magazine. We produce the highest quality print magazine that can be produced, and it's not cheap to do and not cheap to buy, but it's very nice. And for the collectors who have been collecting the magazine for 15 plus years, it's an important piece, and we have an audience for that. The thing about a print magazine is if you're in the airport and you missed your flight, you probably aren't going to have your magazine with you, but you're going to have your smartphone, you're going to have your tablet, and with our apps and with our various ways to access the magazine, you always have Classic Drummer. The other problem with print is it doesn't sound that good. So if you have a print magazine, this magazine is a lovely magazine with Steve Gadd, and we could listen to it as long as we'd like.
Well, we're not going to hear anything.
Not going to hear anything. If you listen to this, you get to hear Steve tell his story. You get to hear Steve give a lesson. You get to hear Steve describe how he came up with some of his seminal drum beats. And that's something that a paper magazine just can't deliver. And it seems to me that if you're in the business of music and sound, that you would want to use the medium that provides the reader the best access to that. And that's why, while paper will always be an archival part of our history and available to those collectors who like to collect them, the future is going to be media where we can really give the reader a more complete experience.
Excellent. What a great idea. And Billy, you've been going to, I know, the Chicago Vintage Show for many years, the Chicago Drum Show as it's called now.
Right.
We have, Classic Drummer now has a new affiliation with Rob Cook and Chicago Drum Show through the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, Classic Drummer Hall of Fame is supporting, which Steve said, got involved with Rob Cook on that, so he knows more about it. But yeah, Classic Drummer Hall of Fame is one of the supporters, if not the main supporter of the show.
Talk about the Hall of Fame.
Well, the Hall of Fame was put in place so that there would be a central place for researchers and folks who are learning the instrument and to access the important drummers. And the important drummers based on the opinions of our readers. So every year our readers vote, we get thousands of votes for the Hall of Fame. And then the top vote getters are inducted into the Hall of Fame. They're sent an award. We communicate with them. They often share media assets with us. Often they're kind enough to do interviews with us in subsequent magazines. But the Classic Drummer Hall of Fame now includes probably some 50 drummers. And there are drummers that are very important drummers musically that won't show up in a jazz poll. They might not show up in the Rolling Stone poll. But the music they made outsold, out-impacted the music of maybe a third of the people in the top 100 drummers in the Rolling Stone poll. Again, because it is about the music. So we put that in place, and it's an important part of what we do. We think it's important to the artist because it accurately begins to chronicle their career in a brief way that we add to over time. We took that piece that we think was an important service to the readers, an important service to the music, and we met Rob Cook, who I feel provides an important service to the industry as well. He really honors the instrument in a way that's very special, and he also honors education in a way that's very special. And he's been doing that for about 25 years. This is his 26th show. So we got together and we were able to bring Rob's media assets into, we work with him closely to continue to accelerate his media assets. He always has had a strong video presence if you've been to any of his shows. and we were really excited to cooperate with him, and really because we just love the show. We love the show. Rob loves the magazine, and we both of us do what we do for that reason.
It's a nice dovetail
It
match
was
there.
superb, and we're very excited, and we can't wait for the show.
Excellent. Well, for our viewers and listeners, where would we go? What's the website, Billy?
ClassicDrummer.com, as far as the magazine goes.
Right. And then there's an offshoot for the
There's the ClassicDrummerHallOfFame.com, Classic Drummer Hall of Fame, and then the Chicago DrumShow.com is where you can get the information. Any of our sites, of course, will also lead you to the Chicago Drum Show site. The Chicago Drum Show site will lead you back to the Hall of Fame, because the Hall of Fame is actually the sponsor of the show.
Okay. So people can read and learn about all manner of things involved with Classic Drummer from those websites. And they also have the option to order a very high gloss, high heavy duty, collectible hard copy magazine.
Exactly.
Great. Well, best of luck with the magazine. We'll be looking for what you've got next.
Great. I look forward to seeing you at the show.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you.